Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and welcome, Director Vought. You mentioned that your pocket rescissions were misunderstood. Are you pledging us today that you will do not submit rescissions within 45 days of the end of the fiscal year?
I'm not making that commitment. I'm saying that no decision has been made with regard to any additional rescissions package or the timing of those rescissions package.
Well, colleagues, I really want to emphasize that this strategy of using delays and freezing and impoundments and slow-walking contracts and rescissions, partisan rescissions, pocket rescissions at the end of the fiscal year are all part of an unconstitutional plan to steal the power of the purse from Congress, as stated in the Constitution, and put it in the power of the President. Mr. Vought's previously told me that he strongly believes that the Impoundment Control Act of 1974 was unconstitutional. That will get to the Supreme Court. But I want to be clear, the U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled twice on the question of whether or not the power of the purse resides with Congress. And I consider this multifaceted strategy to be a huge attack on our Constitution. And I regret that you've undertaken it, as in you'd made a pledge to the Constitution, an oath to the Constitution, not to the President of the United States. I did find it concerning in your testimony that you note life-saving treatment. No life-saving treatment will be impacted by this package. Do you consider any life-saving treatment to have been halted by the January 25th 90-day freeze on AID?
We do not believe that life-saving treatment was halted through the various reviews. Certainly not the direction of policy officials. Throughout the first month, there was malicious compliance at times, and we worked through those as an administration. But this certainly was never intended to be halted.
Well, I consider that to be a huge deception that does not do justice to the truth. On January 25th, a 90-day freeze was announced halting PEPFAR. 60% of the PEPFAR staff was fired. Rubio announced that he was ending 5,200 of the 6,200 USAID programs. He then announced that 82% of USAID program was being shut down, and the remaining 18% would be transferred to the State Department. This resulted in a sudden collapse of malnutrition programs, tuberculosis programs, malaria programs, AID and HIV programs, and Boston University has put together a tracker of the impact of this sudden shutdown of these programs around the world. Let's review the child death count from the Boston University School of Public Health tracking of the impact of your shutdowns. 77,000 children have died up to today, their estimate, from pneumonia as a result of the shutdowns. 70,000 children have died from malnutrition. 59,000 have died from diarrhea. 33,000 have died from malaria. 7,000 infants have died from HIV, plus 118,000 adults. We are talking 250,000 children because of your irresponsible shutdown of programs that Congress had fully authorized and you unconstitutionally shut down in partnership with Elon Musk and the Secretary of State. How do you feel about being responsible for hundreds of thousands of children dying because of your sudden interruption in these key programs?
I reject the assertion. I'm happy to take a look at the tracker that you describe. Every administration has the ability to do a programmatic review when they come into office. In fact, that was articulated earlier by one of your colleagues, the extent to which new administrations come in with new spending priorities. That's what we were doing. There was great malicious compliance with regard to the funding halt that you're referring to.
I find your response both ignorant and callous, and the interruption of these programs was carefully detailed by Secretary Rubio. Elon Musk addressed them as well. When I asked Rubio here in the Senate about whether it was Elon Musk that drove these shutdowns, he said no. He had personally reviewed these contracts himself and his own statements about shutting down 5,200 of these programs. For you to come before this body and say that this vast shutdown of 82% of what USAID had no impact on human life just goes that you chose to make decisions totally totally out of sync with the Constitution. You were plenty welcome to put forward a budget for the next year. You were plenty welcome to veto any bill that we passed in the House and Senate. You could use your influence in all kinds of ways in the future, but you chose to shut down programs in the middle that have resulted in hundreds of thousands of children dying in the last few months. I find that abhorrent, and few Americans have ever had such a devastating and disasterly impact.
I would